Chronicles of a Female Engineer. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Chronicles of a Female Engineer. What I wanted to talk about today is Plan, Do, Check, Act, or PDCA. And this is an important acronym in an engineer's life, but I also want to draw a parallel to how you can use it in your everyday personal life as well. So, what does it mean? So, in a project, you always have a few phases. And what I like to think of is the first phase is where you determine what your plan is. What are we going to do? What's our desired outcome? What do we want to achieve by doing this? And what do we need to consider? Okay, so there's a whole lot of planning that goes at the forefront of a project or a process or whatever you'd like to call it. There's a planning phase, okay? And then after you've planned it, you move into the doing. You execute your plans as you intended them. So you had a vision, you had a process which you planned out, and then you execute that plan as you envisioned. You do it. Okay, and during the doing, or even post, you look at what you're doing, you're checking it, and you're saying, okay, at the beginning of this process, we intended for certain outcomes to happen. We've done it now. Have those outcomes happened as intended? Did we get what we wanted out of this? You check it, you review, what were the key metrics that we're looking for? What are the KPIs, the key performance indicators that would let us know that what we did worked well? Okay, but it's also got a second element, which is around continuous improvement. What didn't we foresee at the front end of the project, which now that we have actually executed, we now know that this was something we should have taken into account. And part of that checking allows you then to act or to adjust and redo. Okay, so with the knowledge that you now have in hindsight, so if we had known this before, we would have changed, the way we approached it, we would have changed the colors that we used, would have changed the ingredients, whatever the case may be. So you reach full circle again and you plan it now, including the things that you've adjusted, and then you do it, and then you check again. And so comes the continuous improvement way of life. Now, how I see that this can apply to our lives, our personal lives, is that it's important to live your life by design. Now, I took a long time to understand that. I meandered through life and waited for it to show me the way, to open doors, if it's meant to be, it will be, que sera, sera. But I want to challenge you and let you know there's another way. There's a way to live your life by design, by intent, to be intentful about how you approach your life. Now with your career, again, be intentful, plan your career. Have a look up there. What does an engineering career look like? Who's out there? Who's done it? Look at every stage. Look at what a graduate engineer perhaps gets involved in. Look at what an experienced engineer looks at in their day-to-day roles. How does that differ from someone in a management role? And there's different tiers of management as well. What does it look like as you go up that ladder? And then how does it look once you get up to like a vice president level, director, head off? Ask yourself and plan it out. So have a frame in mind, have a pathway in mind. So that's your plan. And do. Okay? There's no point just having a wishful thinking. You've got to find opportunities that support that approach, that support that career pathway. If you've got in your mind that I want to be an operations superintendent, I want to be an operations manager, well, you need to get into operations first off. Okay? So if you're in a technical role, put your hand up for an operations project. If you're maybe involved in the design asked to be involved in the commissioning, when it starts getting implemented in the field, put your hand up. Look for ways and opportunities that will allow you to execute your plan. And as you're executing, as you're going through, spend some time reflecting. Check. What could I do differently? What did I learn from this? Wow, okay, that's really interesting. I enjoy operations. It's a changing, moving environment. I learn something new every day. I've got to put my safety hat on. I have to put my social hat on. How can this impact communities? How can this impact the people that go after me? Am I enjoying it? Is it congruent with who I am? Is it fulfilling my tank? Am I feeling satisfied? Am I fulfilled, or am I just frustrated? Am I not where I want to be? And through that reflection, through that checking, you adjust, you act, you find out what you want to tweak, what do you want to change, what do you wish you had done differently, and do it. Don't live in the past, don't live in a pity party. Make things happen. Live by design. It's not a failure. It's simply a test. A check that allows you to readjust and get back on course. So your plan is your GPS. And as you go off track, your GPS reroutes you. How does it do this? Because it realizes, oh, we're going on the wrong path. How do you realize? Through reflection, through checking, through looking at what your original intent was and where you've ended up. And if they're not in the same spot, you keep adjusting and remove. And then you act again. So plan, okay, this time I want to make sure that I do it this way. And you go and you act, you execute, you deliver, you try, put your hand up. And you will notice that at each of these points in your life, in your career, there are lessons to learn. And guaranteed, if you don't learn the lesson, it'll come again in a different form, in a different shape, until you learn it. So, do you want to be one of the ones that learns it the first time and gets it? Depending on the gravity, you don't want to learn lessons more than once. If you are in an accident of some sort and you get hurt or injured or permanently maimed, those are not the type of lessons you want to learn twice. So take some time out to review what's working, what's not working, what can I do better, and what will allow me to live my life by design. So thank you again for joining me for today's episode on Plan, Do, Check, Act. I hope you enjoyed it. Share with your friends, share with anybody who you think would benefit and gain value from this message. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.